Welcome to PYP, the world's only podcast that uses football as a theme to frame conversations with fascinating thought leaders about how we can all show up and play our positions better in life, business, and work. Each episode is designed to elevate your game so you can enjoy more energy, excitement, and excellence as you run your ball into the end zone. I'm your host, Mary Lou Kaiser. Game on. Today on Play Your Position.
Probably my parents would have to be number one, for many different reasons and different aspects that I saw. And then really on an ongoing basis, I really just recommend anybody to get involved with masterminds and, meet regularly with people that are doing similar things. It doesn't have to be similar businesses, but people that, want to do better. They want to build a business and they want that freedom. I found masterminds to be very powerful from an accountability standpoint. When you don't have a boss, you really got to be a little bit more accountable to yourself. So when you have a mastermind and you tell those people in your mastermind, hey, I'm going to get this done in the next 2 weeks, you're going to get it done in the next 2 weeks because you don't want to show up again and then, shame you for not getting it done. So on an ongoing basis, masterminds really do help.
It is game day, Team PYP, and we have got a great show in store for you today because of my guest, Paul Maskill. Paul, are you ready for kickoff?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Awesome. Sitting in a cubicle for 12 hours a day while building someone else's business was not Paul's idea of living the dream. So he quit. In 2011, he invested in his first TGA franchise, combining his business experience with passion for sports. TGA brings golf and tennis to students through after-school programs, summer camps, and family events. Paul grew his business to 4 franchises, impacting thousands of kids with $420,000 in annual revenue. In 2015, Paul sold his franchises for 6 times initial investment and 3 times profit. Paul was then hired by TGA and is in charge of business development. So, Paul, again, welcome to the show. I'm so excited for you to share with Team PYP your story today. And we all know it is game day. You are suited up. You are taking the field. Please give us a better idea of what position you are currently playing with TGA, why it matters, and what you love about it.
Yeah, so thanks so much for having me. So game day, I am here suited up as the business development director for TGA. So basically what that means is I work with prospective franchise owners, people that are looking to get into the TGA business model and help them put together all of their financials, their due diligence, do all the modeling, the marketing, market research, making sure it's a viable business for them and what they're looking to do in their area. And then on the other end of it, I also work with the current franchise owners to help them kind of get them where they want to go by putting the people, processes, and systems in place so that their business does not need them to be there on a day-to-day basis. So, as most entrepreneurs, they start out doing everything, and then it's hard to back up and get the freedom that they really wanted. So work with them doing that as well. So that's kind of what I do on a day-to-day basis as the business development director.
Okay, so a couple of things. TGA stands for?
Stands for Teach, Grow, Achieve.
Oh, I love that. Teach, grow, achieve. And I know there are listeners who are perhaps thinking about franchising. Maybe all of us go to franchises. We go to Subways, for example, or perhaps McDonald's. What is it about franchising that is an attractive business model? Maybe you could give a little bit more insight about franchising specifically.
What really attracted me when I was first looking at it is it really lowers your cost of entry because a lot of the heavy lifting has already been done. You don't have to invest in somebody to build out your product or service. In TGA's model, I didn't have to pay somebody to build out the curriculum. They had already done that for us. And by having franchises all over the world, you're really able to leverage that purchasing power so you can defray the costs of a lot of upfront investments amongst many, many franchise owners because then you're all able to use the same tool. So all the heavy lifting had been done and is still been done and still continues to grow. A fully built out CRM system that's customized just for us, all the marketing materials, your website, anything and everything that you need to do to run a business. It's already been done, whether it's your vendors, all of your vendors have been set up. And you're probably going to get a lot better price with those vendors just because they know that we're going to be buying a lot more stuff since it's people all around the country that are buying these things. So in our case, golf equipment, tennis equipment, everything and anything you can think of, it's been done. And then, the other really powerful thing is the power of the network. So kind of like you and I were talking about before we got on here, you really just love talking to other people that are doing the same thing as you. So you can pick up the phone and call franchises all over the country and the world and say, hey, I have this problem. How do you do it? How do you overcome it? So that way your time to, where you want to go is just going to get sped up that much quicker because people have already done what you're looking to do. So you don't really have to reinvent the wheel. So those are just a couple of things. I mean, we could go on forever on the advantages of it, but it's going to save you a lot of time and money. So that way you can be profitable quicker and you don't have to spend time doing the mundane building of the actual product that you want to deliver.
That's a great explanation, and thank you for giving us again that insight to the franchising model, because some of the PYP team is in business for themselves, and it is a hard road when you're, like you said, you're doing it all yourself. So the advantages of investing in a franchise and then having that built-in network and the pre-populated systems and such can really be an advantage. So it sounds exciting. Is TGA all across the United States?
Yeah, so we're all across the United States. We started out in California and spread all across the U.S. We have a couple of franchises in Canada. We have a franchise in Spain, and I know a lot of your listeners are from all over the world, so we're always looking to bring TGA to other countries and locations as well. So if you want your kids to play golf, tennis, and after-school activities, definitely check it out. So yeah, we are franchising all across the world at this point.
Fantastic. Well, Paul, no one who has succeeded in life or their career or business has done it without the help of a coach or mentor. Who has been an instrumental coach or mentor for you on this journey in franchising and really influenced you to play your current position?
That's a tough question. So as you go along through the business world and life and all that stuff, I mean, you run into so many people that give you good bits and tips and, things to get you where you need to go, but probably have to start from the beginning with my parents. My dad has owned his own business for a really, really long time. So I've always saw his work ethic and, he's not having a boss to tell him what to do. He gets up early every morning, 5 o'clock, and is at work. He runs his own hardwood floor business. And then my mom previously owned some franchises, and that's really where I got kind of introduced to it originally. I was seeing, hey, you can make this investment up front, and then you don't really, you can really, most franchises, one of the biggest things is they're turnkey. So I saw that from her. She did all their franchise training with a different franchise and was really able to get up and running pretty quickly. And then she also works in the financial sector, which I did get a college degree in finance. So a lot of that really helps as well when running your own business. So probably my parents would have to be number one, for many different reasons and different aspects that I saw. And then really on an ongoing basis, I really just recommend anybody to get involved with masterminds and, meet regularly with people that are doing similar things. It doesn't have to be similar businesses, but people that, want to do better. They want to build a business and they want that freedom. I found masterminds to be very powerful from an accountability standpoint. When you don't have a boss, you really got to be a little bit more accountable to yourself. So when you have a mastermind and you tell those people in your mastermind, hey, I'm going to get this done in the next 2 weeks, you're going to get it done in the next 2 weeks because you don't want to show up again and them shame you for not getting it done. So on an ongoing basis, masterminds really do help.
They really do. I love the power of parents and the power of the mastermind. Two big takeaways right there. I love masterminds for the same reasons. The accountability piece is huge. No matter what you're doing, whether you work for someone or you work for yourself, I think it's so important to have people on parallel journeys who can hold you accountable and say, hey, how are you doing with the goals? Hey, how are you doing with that problem that you were trying to solve? And it's just nice to have that touch point, people who get what you're doing and can listen and offer advice. It's different from your friends or your super inner circle that know you so well. I find that sometimes when we have people that are a little bit more removed from our daily lives, they can see things that people close to us can't always. So I'm glad you brought that up. I love the mastermind. But Paul, mastermind or no mastermind, we all also find ourselves playing out of position at times. Things don't always go according to that beautiful game plan we spend so much time mapping out, thinking this is going to go perfectly right. But no, as in any, as in any football game, the players find themselves on the field getting intercepted. They fumble. They get sacked way down the field. Tell us about a time when this happened to you with TGA, or I guess TGA would like you because that's what you're doing right now. What is that story? How did you recover?
Yeah, that's a great really discussion in general. I mean, I see it as, making mistakes. You really got to change your mind shift and your perception of what a mistake is. When you're running a business, you are going to make a mistake probably every day. And the key is really just learning from that, seeing it as a learning experience and seeing it as a way to improve your business. So if a customer complains, don't really get upset about it, but really see, wow, now I can improve my business because someone's being candid about it. So I love making mistakes in the sense that it's always going to help me get me where I want to go better, just because it's always going to help me improve my business. But probably as a franchise owner, kind of the way the TGA model is set up, first off, like I said, you start out doing everything. You're doing all the admin work, phone calls, emails, putting together rosters for your coaches, and you're building a team of part-time coaches that are going out to these schools, teaching kids golf and tennis right on campus, right after school, sometimes before school. But eventually all that admin and office work, becomes too much and you really need to start to delegate. So probably one of my biggest mistakes, fumble, interception, sack, whatever you want to call it, was hiring the wrong person for that full-time position. So really putting together a game plan, seeing what I wanted to go, how am I going to get there? And I put this person in place and realized pretty quickly that it was just not the right fit from a personality standpoint, from a productivity standpoint, communication standpoint. So in the sense that what I really learned there was, to really have a little bit more structure in how to determine who you want to hire full time. And then the other thing that everybody always says is trust your gut. My gut feeling before I interviewed this person was it's not a good fit, but then they interviewed really well, which I found out was really just they're really good at putting on an interview, and everything else that they had done before that was the truth. So that would probably be my biggest fumble, interception, or sack, would be hiring the wrong person. But then when you realize it, you got to make a quick move, because otherwise it's just going to hamper your business. So if you want to hire a little bit slower and fire quicker, that would be what I learned from that episode.
Oh my gosh, I had a guest, I think it's episode 44, so Misha McCallion talked about you've got to hire slow and fire fast, and it's almost the opposite in every case in business. We hire too quickly and we're so slow to fire. So I'm glad you shared that story. I think it's something that more and more today, with businesses accelerating and the need to bring on teams, sometimes that speed to table, so to speak, makes us make decisions too quickly. And it's a good one. It's a great story. The right fit is so important, and it's worth waiting maybe another couple of weeks or even a month or whatever it takes to find that right fit than it is to have to backpedal and go through the emotional turmoil. I mean, nobody wants to fire somebody, right?
Right.
That's
exactly.
Just because feelings are hurt. I don't care what it is. It's just not a fun thing. So, but it sounds like you recovered. You found somebody that fit the bill.
Yep. Yeah. Recovered well, put in a little bit different system to put those new people in place. And then we ended up actually with 4 full-time people by the time we sold our business. So it worked out well, learned from it, and made the business better.
Excellent. Well, the world has changed very quickly, speaking of speed to table, and I know you've seen it, Paul, because you've been in business. So I would like you to talk about the specific shifts that you believe have had the greatest impact on the world today for people going into business, for people in franchising. What has specifically made a difference to you?
I would have to say utilizing technology to scale a business really at little or no cost. It's really just going to be your time investment to learn these new tools. When we were putting our team in place, a few tools that might help other listeners out there is Slack. Slack is a great communication tool if you have a remote team. All of our team members were here locally. I'm actually in the Raleigh area, but they were all working from their homes. So to communicate very easily, we use Slack. Camtasia is another one. It's a screen recording software. that helped me make training videos really quickly for these full-time people that I was bringing on. So anytime I wanted to record a task on the computer, how they do it, you can record it with Camtasia. And then really the last one, which probably gets overlooked and, taken for granted, is just Google. If you don't know how to do something, just Google it. I told all of our employees that. Google will tell you everything that you need to know, whether it's exactly what we just talked about. Is there a software to record, to help make training videos, or is there a software to communicate better? Google is very underrated just because it's been around for so long, but never underestimate the power of it.
I agree. Google is amazing. And and it's kind of because it's been around so long, I'm amazed at what I discover on Google. And even their little app, when you go to Google Drive and you see all the different apps that are in there, sometimes get in there and play around. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that. It's
Yep.
free. A
Exactly.
lot of it is free. Yeah, I love Google Docs and Google Slides. I mean, you don't really need much more than Google anymore. It is kind of crazy that way. So, Paul, you know what? We are in the part of the show that is so exciting. Not that what you shared already hasn't been great, but the touchdown, the time when you run the ball into the end zone and score that game-winning touchdown. That's where we're at. So, Paul, you are in the red zone. There are less than 30 seconds left on the clock. Your team is down by 4 points. It's third down, and it is now or never. Please share a story about a time when you overcame that obstacle, ran the ball into the end zone, and won the game for you.
Yeah, so I would say, probably when we sold our business here at the end of 2015, so starting from nothing and growing it up pretty quickly in 4 years and being able to sell it for a pretty good return, I would say that would have to be a pretty good game-winning touchdown. When I first started my TGA venture, really, I was just looking to get out of the corporate world. I didn't even envision it growing, past, say, 10 coaches, but we ended up with 40 plus coaches. Really, it was just a way for me to pursue my passion, build a business, and help kids along the way. And then, lo and behold, I was able to build a pretty good business out of it. And then when I sold it, I also had the opportunity to transition, right to working with TGA on a national level, so that way I could help all the other franchise owners and prospective franchise owners out there. So I would have to say most recently that was probably the biggest game-winning touchdown there.
Yes, that is a great touchdown. And, I didn't ask you, and I'd like you to elaborate a little bit more. You made the transition from, as you said, the cubicle life into entrepreneurship. And I know that there are listeners who are entrepreneurs in their minds and haven't made that switch. So what did it take for you to make that change? How did you walk away from something that was familiar, comfortable, guaranteed, and I use air quotes around guaranteed because there are no guarantees in life. But, there is that sense that when you have a monthly salary and you have the benefits and such, there's a little bit of a safety net there versus a venture where you're leaping into the unknown. How was that? Yeah, talk about, because that's another touchdown for you. You made that, switch.
I would say that was so that was probably the biggest touchdown in the whole venture so far. But really, when it came down to it, I didn't really want to have any regrets when I was 60, 70, 80 years old, looking back and say, man, I wish I would have tried doing that. I wonder what would have happened. So I was working in the financial world, living in Chicago, doing the daily grind there, and really it was during the financial crisis, which didn't help. And that's what really made me realize that this job is not guaranteed and no job is guaranteed, because you're not really in control. It feels safe because you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, but you're not in control of your destiny. Somebody else is, that probably doesn't even know who you are. Probably some, number crunching person way up that's saying, hey, we need to eliminate 2% on the bottom line because we got to keep our stockholders happy. So let's eliminate these people, and, off you go and away you go. So what really, I stood up from my cubicle, looked around and saw people that had been doing this job for 30, 40 years. I didn't want to be that person, no offense to those people, but I didn't want to go through, life and realize that I really didn't add any value to anybody's life, and specifically my own, just doing something, for somebody else. So I took the leap, and my reasoning really was, what's the worst that can happen? If this thing crashes and burns, I can always go get another job. But, I saw it as a learning opportunity and really a business opportunity that if I'm in control and I have confidence in myself that, I'm going to work hard, and I like the opportunity that the harder I work, the more successful I'm going to be. That's really what it was. And when you do take that leap, it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. And really, when you know there's no paycheck coming in 2 weeks, it's going to make you work that much harder to get to where you want to go. So that way you can make it happen, because once you take that leap, you do not want to go back to the corporate world. But worst case scenario, you do go do that, and it's really not that bad. So that was really what it was for me. Really, you only live once, and I really wanted to have no regrets. I didn't want to, look back and say, man, I wonder what would happen if I would have started that business venture. Or say you get laid off 6 months later and you're thinking, man, I really should have, pursued that, that business opportunity that was in front of me. So for everybody listening out there that hasn't made the jump, but you feel like you're an entrepreneur, it's not that bad. The worst case scenario is not as bad as you think. And if you are an entrepreneurial minded person, you will work to make it happen. So you can always go get another job.
You can always go get another job. That's the default safety net.
Yeah.
It's true. And there's plenty of work out there, and it's all about the mindset. So, Paul, that's a great key offensive strategy right there. And I would love for you to share a couple more straight out of the Paul Maskill playbook that listeners could take away from our conversation today to help them move the chains of their lives, their careers, or businesses forward. Some people may not want to make the leap, and I'm sure you've got some other nuggets of wisdom that you can impart on us as we wrap things up today.
I'll leave you with a couple things. Really, if you are looking to make the leap and you haven't made the leap yet, I tell this to everybody that I come in contact with that says they want to make the leap. And I really just ask them, how are you spending your time? So there's more time in a week than you think. There's 168 hours in a week. And if you're working for 40 to 50 of those hours and you're sleeping for, 50 of those hours, that's going to leave you a good 50 to 80 hours a week to do other things. And other things obviously could be hobbies, family, but a lot of people waste a lot of time doing things that really aren't getting them where they want to go. So really just evaluate how you're spending your time. If you do really want to make that leap, you can still work your full-time job and then build something on the side. And then once that something on the side becomes bigger than your full-time job, then you can quit if you want to be a little bit more risk adverse. And for people that are happy doing what they're doing, whether they're running their own business or they like their job and they don't want to do anything different, it's simple. But when running a business and even working with other people, it's really the golden rule, providing whatever it is, if it's customer experience or anything that you're doing, do that the way you would want it be done to you. So especially when it comes to customer service and customer experience, pretty much everything is a commodity these days. So whatever you're selling, there's 100 other people selling that. And a lot of people don't realize that. So what's going to set you apart is giving those people that little extra experience that they don't get from somewhere else. Because like I said, everything that you're selling, somebody else is selling too. So do those things, do the little things, big things will happen, and be happy with what you're doing. That really, shines in on passion, really shines through, and your customers or your coworkers or whatever situation you're in definitely feels that.
Definitely great advice. The golden rule. And again, team, show up, be yourself, and you'll win at life. Just go that little bit of extra mile, the extra kindness, the say please. Most people don't say please, the simple things. So take what Paul is saying to heart. And Paul, if there are people that would like to know more about you, connect with you, either online or offline, where do you hang out these days?
Offline, I hang out in Raleigh, North Carolina. If anybody's in Raleigh and they want to hang out, chat, I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. If you want to hang out with me online, you can go to Twitter. My Twitter handle is just Paul Maskill. So first name, last name, nothing fancy there. You can send me an email personally, pmaskill@playtga.com. And then if there are any listeners out there interested in the TGA opportunity, we have a page just for the PYPers. It's franchisetga.com/PYP. There's some information there. There's a little bit of survey there. And then there's also an opportunity to schedule a discovery call with me to chat about it, where you're at, where you want to go, and see if TGA might be that vehicle of where you want to go and, do something that's fun, build your passion, and build a business and impact kids along the way.
Excellent. So listeners, you know that all of this information will be on Paul's show notes page over at pyppodcast.com. You just got to hit the podcast button and type in his name, Paul, and his show notes page will pop right up with the links to his Twitter feed and his offer if you are interested in learning more about the TGA opportunity. And Paul, this has been fantastic. I loved what you shared today, some awesome tidbits, and also just explaining what franchising is for people who, again, are familiar with franchising, but perhaps didn't understand exactly how it works. And I want to wish you the best as you move forward in your ventures with TGA and look forward to staying in touch with you moving ahead.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I look forward to keeping in touch and talking to any other PYPers out there.
Since I can remember, I have loved two things, reading and listening. I loved when my parents read to me before bed books like Where the Wild Things Are and Go Dog Go. When I became a parent, I made sure to read books to my kids every single night. I still love reading, but with the demands of my business and podcast, it's harder to find the stretches of time I enjoyed when I was younger to curl up with a good book. Thank goodness for technology and places like Audible, who make thousands of amazing books available to people like you and me. PYP has teamed up with Audible to bring listeners an exclusive offer to get a free audiobook today with no strings attached, so you can begin enjoying stories on the go. Visit pypbook.com to get started. It's that easy, and you'll be so glad you did. Again, go to pypbook.com and start listening for free today.